Mr. Wade,
Yes.
this has probably been the most eventful day if you're a Houston Texans fan. There's a lot we got to discuss, but first, let's talk about the obvious. Andre Johnson, a man who never talks, who his last tweet was 38 days ago, said Deshaun Watson needs to stand his ground and the Houston Texans need to get rid of Easterby.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of eye-opening. Andre Johnson was brought in under Bill O'Brien as a special assistant. Like he helped with the wide receivers, and then he remained as a representative of the club. And of course, he's Andre Johnson, like only the greatest Texan ever currently until JJ retires. And for him to say something, especially since he was the consummate professional. I mean, they talk about all the time how he taught Hopkins how to be a pro. Like that's what Hopkins would just say over and over and over. I wouldn't have been a pro without this guy. And then you just look at all the tweets and the comments, and even Arian Foster's like, dude, if Dre says something, you listen. Like he's like, I don't even pay attention to anything anymore. But if Dre says something, I'm gonna sit up and listen. So that is eye opening, and I don't know how Easterby survives the week after something like that.
Oh no, I don't know either. Let me just say, Easterby give credit. It's the hardest working man I know to do what he's doing. You have to applaud the man, but it's crazy how so many Texans players, so many, even Owen Daniels got in the mix and was liking tweets about firing Easterby. I even called out Jack Easterby saying, hey, come on this show, let the fans know why you should stay. I think it's nuts. So do you think, Easterby's gone?
I mean, you would think he'd have to be.
You
At
would
this
hope so.
point, though, nothing this franchise does surprises me. Let's be honest. I There's a very good chance that he's promoted next week to president of whatever, since John McClain just leaked out that Jamie Roots may be moving on. Which, I mean, he's been here since day one. Granted, I have my own issues with him if you listen to my show, but
Hmm.
if Easterby manages to survive all this, like, I mean, part of me wants to respect that because, dude, that's like a master. He's a master of what he does, whatever that may be. That manipulation being the what's the guy from Lord of the Rings? Wormtongue. There we go. The old guy that stood next to the king and just whispered in his ear the whole time.
Yep.
Like that's Jack Easterby, and I mean, I'm not original with that. That's all over Twitter, and if he's doing that and he's able to have that sort of hold on McNair, and the McNairs have always wanted us to turn into the Chick-fil-A franchise of the NFL. Like they
Hmm.
want to be that ultra wholesome whatever. And like I don't fault them for that. Like that's a great aspiration to have, but to go so far down a road that you're listening to guy because he's your preacher instead of your guys that are your guys. Like I mean, former players, you would think that if Cal definitely lives in a bubble. I mean, there's no other way around it. He lives in a bubble. Rivers McCown wrote a great article about
Great.
him being in a bubble. But you would think that the type of that at least like Andre Johnson or something that he supposedly like Cal essentially grew up with these players. You would think that hearing from them would burst that bubble in some form.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I love that Lord of the Rings reference. I just watched the trilogy last week. No, dude, I watched The Hobbit, and I
Perfect
was
timing,
like,
dude.
I watched The Hobbit, and I was like, well, let me check out Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson, phenomenal. Okay, let's not get off topic, but it's sad that the person that you would think when you talk about a franchise, you're going to talk about the great players, the owner, or the GM or the coach. Never talk about some dude who assimilates all this power, and you know, I just don't see because you would think the organization would choose Deshaun Watson, but all the things leading up to now shows that it hasn't. Shows that they're on Jack Easterby. So what is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back? Is it Deshaun going then stay? It's either him or me. 'Cause that's what I think it might come down to.
You would think, and it's a situation that I don't even know how to properly explain because in some form they're taking it as almost management versus employees. Where if you've worked in a company before, sometimes there's a disconnect there. And there's decision makers, and then there's the people that are on the front lines. And they're kind of viewing Deshaun almost like Deshaun got a wake-up call that he's an asset, that he's not a decision maker. And I think that it sounds like he was misled. Like, it sounded like he had a seat at that table. But even when Caserio referred to Deshaun, he's like, that's our quarterback. He didn't give him any false praise. He didn't say he's our bedrock. He didn't say like he's going to be a cornerstone, or he's the guy we're going to build the franchise around. He didn't say any of those things that are not, I shouldn't have said false praise, but he didn't go over and elaborate on it. He said it in a manner that tells me that he's going to have a conversation with Deshaun. This is your job. Your job is to be the quarterback. My job is to be the general manager. And part of me is afraid that that conversation is going to kind of blow up and make it even worse. And I think part of that conversation is he's going to say, let me handle Jack. And we've kind of seen how that's gone, because I think Caserio's expecting the Jack Easterby that he worked with for 6 years, not the Jack Easterby that we got to remember. Jack Easterby in New England was not a personnel guy. Nope. Belichick made that very clear. He's like, he's not a personnel guy. And now he's been in Houston, and even the article that is kind of damning of Easterby, the Sports Illustrated one, they talked about one of his qualities is he would just pick up any job he could. And he got himself into Bill O'Brien's graces, and he picked up any job he could, which Bill O'Brien had all the jobs. So he was letting Easterby do more and more. And he's already got the backing of Cal McNair, so he's kind of wiggled himself into a position that he never would have had in New England. He never would have had personnel control. He would have never had the authority that he thinks he has, which it sounds like he just grabbed it.
Yeah.
But rightly or wrongly, no matter where his heart was, it sounds like he literally just grabbed it. He's ambitious, and he just took it. And it's a job that an experienced franchise like New England would have never let happen. But Houston's such a hot mess, he was able to. But Caserio is expecting Jack Easterby to follow the rules of a franchise that has its act together, not this franchise that he has to come in and clean up.
And do you think Jack Easterby would do that? Because if I'm Jack Easterby, no. Because I've been here longer. I feel like I've built a repertoire. I already have the owner. If I'm Jack Easterby, I'm being hard headed. I'm like, I've been doing a lot of things here while you were over there in New England, and then that's where I see an opportunity of getting Easterby out of here. Because, dude, there's too many people who are saying get rid of Easterby. We are screaming it. Jordan got it trending on Twitter. I'm not sure if you like comedy, but Cat Williams said if people call you one thing and so many people call you one thing, that's exactly what it is, and that's exactly what it is. And I mean, he just seems like a snake. And I just honestly right now, I don't see this ending good. And it sucks to say that.
Oh, I mean, well, they're going to have to choose Deshaun. They're going to have to. And I think at this point, and even in the press conferences, you kind of get a feel for it. They don't want to make that decision. They're hoping that everything's going to blow over with Easterby, but it's not going to.
No.
Especially now that a whole can of gasoline's been poured on it. Like, it's not going away. Not anytime soon. And I think that Cal, just in his bubble, he thinks it will, and it won't.
No, and that's why I love that other players stand up, because it's obvious that, like you said, Kyle's in a bubble. I don't even think he cares about the fans, right? I just think he's just the owner. And when you see some pedigree like an Andre Johnson, like Dwayne Brown, like even Arian Foster, who came out of the woods, we haven't seen him since his Joe Rogan podcast, but all of them speaking now, do you have to hope that Cal McNair is listening?
Well, I think it's a little unfair to say Cal doesn't care about the fans. Like, I think that's a little extreme. I think he doesn't know how to care about the fans. I think it's a little bit different. I think that ultimately, I believe his heart's in the right place. Like, when he talks about it, and if you look at the spending, like behind the scenes spending, like he pumps money into the franchise. The McDaniels actually do. Like, they're not stingy. And I think that they want to win, but he's a little bit blinded. I think that he he's so out of his element and he doesn't know what he's doing that when he latches onto somebody he thinks is competent, he just sticks with them. Like we said it for so long that we thought that Rick Smith was the godfather of his parent or of his kids because Rick Smith could do no wrong for so long. And the person that's now occupying that Rick Smith role is Jack Easterby.
Mm.
So, and it's because Cal, I think, wants to stay out of the way. And I think he wants to make the fans happy. And he thinks in his heart, because he's just not, he's a spoiled little rich boy and he just doesn't know things, that this preacher is coming to him and he's trying. And Jack, I mean, I don't know anything about Jack Easterby like as a person, and it seems like he's trying to help, but he's ambitiously trying to help, which can easily get spun to being a snake because he's taking every opportunity he can. So you've got the snake that's slithering in right next to you and he's offering to do all these things for you, and Cal's like, I don't want to do it, just make the people happy, and is trying to let him do it, and then is trying to let him grow because he obviously is screwing up, but he seems to be the type of person that lets you screw up a couple of times. And hopefully, though, as Casario gets in there, he'll start talking to the players and he'll start to realize that maybe Jack has gotten too big for his britches. Not maybe, he definitely has from our perspective. But from his perspective, he'll start to see that he's getting too big for his britches. And it's like, you know what? Maybe it is time for a reset.
Do you think Deshaun would accept that though? Like, do you think Deshaun, like, if Nick Casario tells him, "Yeah, I'm gonna keep Jack Easterby in check," do you think he accepts that, or do you think he's like, "No, I just want him gone"?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I wish I had a solid answer. I really don't know. I think that Deshaun himself would give Nick Casario the benefit of the doubt because Deshaun wants to play football. He wants to win. He wants to be great. Like, that's his goals. And if he believes that Nick Casario is going to get him in that direction, he's going to go with him. If he thinks that Jack Easterby will be out of the way, not prevent that, I don't think he gives. I don't think he gives anything. He doesn't care one bit about Jack Easterby. Um, but if he thinks that Jack Easterby is going to continue to sow division, continue to have all these former players be upset, as soon as a player leaves the franchise, they're pointing fingers at Jack Easterby. I think that Deshaun is going to be very well aware of that because it's going to prevent good players from wanting to come play with him.
No, I mean that's. I mean, you said it more perfectly myself. Besides the Jack Easterby news, because Houston Texans have put an interview request for Eric Bieniemy. You know what was crazy is that we were so happy. We were like, yes, this is somebody that Deshaun wanted. Nick Casario's paying attention. Not even 20 minutes later, we see
I
Andre.
know.
I was like, what the hell is going on? But Jack Easterby did one thing that I think was right. I think he started off good, was putting a request for Eric Bieniemy. Even if you don't get to interview Eric Bieniemy, I think just the thought that, okay, they didn't do it, but I'm gonna do it for you because I want to build rapport with you. I think that's really good. I think that's something that needs to be looked at.
Well, I hope it's a legitimate interview. I hope it's
Yes.
not just an interview to make Deshaun happy. I think that Bieniemy deserves an interview. Like, he
Hmm.
absolutely does. Now, if you look at his past and his record, there are some things on there that the Texans usually stay away
Stay away
from.
from.
The cardinal rule that we kind of understand right now at NRG is no violence against women.
Yep.
Now, Bieniemy has some things on his past from right back in at Colorado State, and that might have played a part in it. And that's where, and that may just be, it's not rumors because it's true, but it's trying to connect the dots. But Bieniemy has had time since then, hopefully, to grow, and even part of the complaint is the things that were accused to him. If he was a white coach, would have gotten swept under the rug, but because he was black, that's kind of where there's a little bit, I think
Agree.
of, and I think that there's probably a valid point to that. But I think that that whole situation is part of the reason why, because that was one of the rules at NRG. But now Deshaun wants him, and Bieniemy is. It's not just Deshaun. Like, to me, that's actually the number one selling point I have, and I've had Bieniemy as my 1A, 1B. Like, it goes back and forth all year since we were going to get a new coach. Was players really want to play for him?
Yeah, they love
Like,
him.
regardless of whether or not he calls plays, regardless of whether or not he actually puts the offense together, if he schemes it up, I don't care. I want a coach that comes in that the players want to play for, because right now we need that. We need somebody that makes them excited to come to the stadium. And next year's going to be pretty brutal, so we need a guy that's going to they're going to want to fight for. They're wanting to go out there and actually play hard for. And then B, can he put a staff together? And I mean, the Andy Reid tree is all over the place. Like, there's coaches everywhere that have had some sort of connection to Reid. I mean, look at the two guys that we also look for interviews: Leslie Frazier and the wide receivers assistant head coach from the Ravens. I'm sorry, I forgot his name right now.
Oh, I know, I forgot his name too.
But both of those guys also came from the Andy Reid tree, and they both coached with Bieniemy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are all just interesting threads to kind of follow, and I think that there's a lot of depth in this year's head coaching potential, and you've just, I mean, I don't feel I feel like Bieniemy is actually a safe choice. Like, I think he's going to be fine.
I actually wouldn't mind Eric Bieniemy. You know, he's not my choice, but he's in obviously my top 3, top 5. You know, another head coach that has been getting a lot of buzz, that has me excited, and your boy very excited, is 31-year-old Joe Brady, who said, "I want to talk to the Houston Texans again, but I would like to sit with Deshaun Watson," which I love, by the way, because it shows us he's paying attention to the situation, and be like, okay, well, I got to talk to him. The thought of Joe Brady, Deshaun Watson, man, it just excites me, because this dude could scheme, and he could scheme. And, you know, don't look at the Carolina Panthers record, because it's not gonna, you're not gonna get attracted by it. You got to look at what he did. 4 players over the 1,000-yard mark. Teddy Bridgewater with no left knee, cannot throw the ball downfield. No Christian McCaffrey. I mean, the offense at one point was looking damn good. And we had this conversation a couple months ago where I was at work and I told you guys, y'all need to really pay attention to Joe Brady. What do you think about him?
Well, there's a lot to be excited about with Joe Brady, and there's a lot to be concerned about. To be excited about, I just have to give you one name: Mike Davis. Go look up his career stats. If Joe Brady can do that with Mike Davis, and Davis is a Gamecock, so I actually followed his career because he's a Gamecock.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, there's a reason why he was a street free agent.
Exactly.
And Brady drops him in, and you would never thought that Christian McCaffrey was injured for the entire season. Like, just phenomenal job. And there's something to be said about these younger coaches that just kind of see the game in a way that others do not. And Brady apparently impressed Sean Payton when he was even younger, with just the ability to understand how offenses can kind of work and attack defenses. And apparently there's a rumor that he's the one that what's the fullback quarterback, Peyton Hillis? No, not Peyton Hillis. For the Saints. I am horrible with names tonight. I'm so sorry. But there's a rumor. No, it's the quarterback. He ended up starting when Breeze went down. Not Winston, the other one. Taysom Hill. All right, there we go. I wanted to call him Peyton Hillis for some reason, but Taysom Hill. Joe Brady actually developed the packages that they use Taysom Hill in it. So, yeah. So imagine what he could do with an actual mobile quarterback. Like, like I said, a lot to get excited about with Joe Brady. And there's just something for when they call people geniuses or savants. They just see things that other people can't. And for him to be that young and to be able to impress the way that he does, that's something. Now, the problem with him is, what type of staff would he bring in? Because you don't know.
Yes.
What type of presence is he in the locker room? Because you don't know. And how would he actually handle having all that authority? Because this is a guy that went from being a passing game coordinator at LSU to an offensive coordinator at Carolina, and then a head coach. That's 1 year each. And granted, I mean, next year is kind of a wasted year, so he'll get to kind of learn on the fly. But that's still being a head coach in the NFL is no joke. It ages guys, and it can be incredibly stressful. And who's to say that the NFL won't catch up with them? Like even now, like the Rams are winning based on their defense.
Yeah, I
For as
think
much as we talk about Sean
for
McVay being
sure.
a genius, the Rams are winning on defense, not on offense.
Yeah, no, yeah, obviously I have the same concerns as you as just the staff. He's still young in the game, but then you look at someone like Nick Casario, you're like, okay, he could put together, you know, a very decent staff. I think the Joe Brady hires you hire him based off potential of what he could potentially be as a great head coach. Is he the coach that the Houston Texans need now? No, no, they don't. You need someone established to come in, but then again, you don't want to be the team that missed out on Joe Brady, and that's I
Well, you
think
need a
can be
coach
the
that comes in
situation.
and just clicks with Deshaun. If
Exactly.
they if Joe Brady and Deshaun click and they sit there and they can just talk ball and there's a very good chance that they just fall in love with each other.
Hmm.
But that's who he needs to focus on. Like that's what everything kind of rides on. Deshaun Watson. Like we've waited 20 years to get a quarterback like this.
Exactly.
And there's not a lot of quarterbacks that can do what Deshaun does. So put him in a situation that he can be successful, and we need a head coach that'll do that.
Yeah. So before I let you go, man, gun to your head, $1 million in front of you. Who is the Houston Texans head coach, Mr. John Wade? What say you?
I don't know anymore, to tell you the truth. I'm going to say Joe Brady.
Yeah.
There's, I joked about it on Twitter about it being an informed conspiracy theory, but the Texans really do like Brady.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not? I think Brady, Dabo. I hope we put in one for Salah, even if it was already declined. But it's a lot of uncertainty. But you got to go, man, because you're gonna be on at 9 o'clock tonight.
I know I got 30 minutes. I do have one little nugget that I'll share for you. A
Okay.
guy that I've talked to that used to be close to the Texans that I kind of would always go to him and kind of ask him like what they were thinking. So try and get clarity. He said that if Bob McNair was still alive, Robert Saleh would be the head coach. But
Love it.
Cal is obviously not his father's son or not his father. But he said that if Bob McNair was still alive, it would have been Saleh, no doubt.
I absolutely love it, Mr. Way. Let the guys know where they can find you at.
You can follow me at John A Wade 3 on Twitter, and then I am part of Texans Unfiltered. So just wherever you see us at Houston FB Pod, find us on YouTube at Texans Unfiltered, and just we have our own Discord and so forth. So just drop us a line. We'll send you a link, and you can come bother us whenever you'd like.
Yes, sir. And as you know, guys, we are almost at 3,000, so about a 400 away. We're gonna keep on pumping up the content. We love this team, Wade. Even though this team really breaks our heart, we just can't seem to stay away.
Oh, isn't that the truth?
Isn't that the truth? Thank